I like Transformers reviews, and who doesn't? Even when spending the last few years keeping away from collecting due to budget constraints, I still checked out the ones I liked, such as Optimus and Vangelis, and Theo's awesome Transformers reviews! Now it's time to get back into the hobby, so I'll be starting some reviews, and where better to start them with something not many people know about, high-quality knockoffs. Yes, you heard right, high-quality knockoffs. I'm not talking about the shitty ones you get from Paddy's Markets or whatever. No, this Optimus Prime knockoff is the real deal. So much that he's slightly better than the original. I'll get to some comparisons soon, but first, an explanation. This toy comes from a little-known site called Sirtoys, dedicated to cheap Chinese unlicensed goods. Cheap doesn't mean bad though. If you sift through the reviews, Masterpiece and Diecast figures appear to be of high quality. Incredibly high quality. Just don't try to search knockoffs on TF Wiki though. It's a bit biased there.
Hasbro is the master race, guys. Nobody else is capable of creating such good toys. All knockoffs are crap.
Hey, that's very offensive. Are you even listening to me?
Knockoffs. No, if we allow third-party Transformers in, they'll just allow for family
You're not even listening to me.
Robot chicken skits, or even worse, fan fiction.
Forget this.
And we cannot allow...
Optimus Prime's cab is exactly like the movie, minus all the scratches and the color scheme instead. If you want those, go the Takara version instead of this KO. Instead, we get this gorgeous red and blue that evokes the G1 version. Sadly, there's only one smokestack, but it's not too big of a deal. This sculpt is beautiful, with rivets and greebling everywhere. The windows at the front, though, they're far from perfect, especially with the fact they don't line up properly. This brings me to two aesthetic changes that this KO has from the original. Two tiny bits of clear plastic have not been painted. It's barely noticeable though, but I thought I'd point it out. There's also no Autobot symbol, but this is easily remedied by repro labels. So if these two are the downgrades, then what's better? Well, put simply, Diecast. This figure feels damn solid, with a perfect weight to it. There's a lot in the cab, mainly the two side sections. This guy will not break at all, especially in transit, despite Sirtoys not sending this in its original box. A few issues with the sculpt can be seen at the back section though. These windows do not try to hide at all, and this back section does look a little messy. Other than that though, this is truly a stellar figure. The paint's spot on, and that silver stripe especially gives this guy so much character. Oh, and a quick thing. Don't try to store the gun in vehicle mode. It looks stupid, and it's not even meant for him. For a size comparison, I'll show you next to these two chumps. It's a sad thing that this is the closest thing I have to a G1 Prime, with the other guys simply being a Legends class Ultra Magnus, and a Battle Pack Optimus Prime. I'll eventually review both, but this is literally my first review. The KO Prime also comes with an incredibly comprehensive transformation sheet to help you out, which for some reason has Bumblebee on the back, who I won't buy because he's too big and disregards all the engineering breakthroughs Movieverse B-Toys have made over the past several years. You don't get any hilarious English, but the names are still funny.
Deformation.
Robot mode, changeable. Comparisons with the original Generation 1 Prime transformation are completely wrong. This guy doesn't even use the front of his alt mode to transform, instead relying on the back panels to flip in. Quick note though, the instructions given here are not guidelines. There is a specific order of operations for the cab section, especially when going into vehicle mode. This is why the instructions show the robot to vehicle conversion, even though it's packaged in its truck mode. Just remember, if you're having clearance issues, it's not the toy's fault. You're just doing it wrong. Also, quick thing about the legs, separate them first. Then, carefully push the back to bring out the foot and align the leg. Trying to yank the foot out from there doesn't work, and it could break the toy. Well, I say could, but considering how there's die-cast parts on this figure, in the legs somewhere, although I don't know where, it's less likely. Also, don't forget to tilt the head up a bit. It may look weird otherwise. Holy shit, this robot mode is near perfect. The sheer lack of kibble makes all those sacrifices in vehicle mode worth it, and I'm happy to say this is the best Voyager Movieverse Optimus Prime. Oh, hey, sorry Battlehooks. You're great, but you're just a downscale. This robot mode, however, is not without its problems. For starters, damn legs! They're hollow as hell on the sides, although it's not as bad as you might think it is. Damn, even the floor seems to not be too big of a deal. Another gripe, and I say that with inverted commas because it's not too bad either, would have to be the torso. At least on the KO version, it doesn't really tab in anywhere and relies more on friction. The tabs that hold it together are clearly the fake chest windshields. Don't get me wrong though, the die-cast here and the windshields are sturdy enough to hold it together on friction alone, so nothing is lost. One tiny annoyance is the lack of alignment with the bumper panel, where you can clearly see gaps, but it's barely noticeable. And at this point I'm nitpicking. One might complain that the windshields aren't actually the windshields, but I won't. They look good enough to let it slide. Everything else about this figure is fantastic. The proportions seem heroic, yet realistic. Other than the legs, there are no hollow parts, and even the legs are barely noticeable. Heck, I bet you didn't even realise them until you pointed it out. The diecast in this figure is also great. I'm sure there's some in the legs, but I don't know where. The articulation is great too. The head's on a ball joint and a tilt, allowing for tons of movement. He has an epic waist swivel, and the ratcheted legs give off a nice but quiet click when moving outwards. Also, the wheels move out of the way! This is some serious gunpla engineering we've got here. The legs move forwards and backwards via universal joint, and they rotate on a mushroom peg. They bend at the knee, but the KO version doesn't quite allow for the Evangelist's knee break due to added rigidity. I'm all for it. It means less awkward poses. The feet manage to move forward and back easily, but the ankle tilts on the wrong direction. Why? And then we get to the arms. The universal ratcheted shoulders work fine, but this KO does make a tiny error. My copy has a weak right shoulder. Well, I say weak, but I mean weaker. Still perfectly functional, even if it could be better. I have heard different stories depending on different copies, so your mileage may vary. Besides, this thing happens on legitimate toys anyway. And have you even seen Combiner Wars Optimus Prime? That is Ratchet's done wrong. The other oddity lies in the elbows. They kind of have to be at angles, otherwise they'll buckle out a bit where they're not supposed to. Still, it's also the bend looks more natural, so I'll deal with it. Slightly bent does look better anyway. He also has a swivel just above the elbow, and a wrist swivel. Once again, the gun looks really stupid. Honestly, why would you ever use it with this guy? The gun's clearly meant for Dark Moon Megatron, and, well, I'm a little disappointed. I guess I was so hyped up about this that I overshot how good it would be. Don't get me wrong, it's a perfect fit for him. It's just that I think it's a bit more of a necessity than an awesome gimmick. Still, good job Hasbro for fixing it. The vehicle mode storage looks a lot better, but not by much. I guess it's a lot more suited for Megatron than it is for Prime. Although, why on earth did Prime have Megatron's gun? Did he have it in the movie? Did he nick it off Megatron so he could use it in Age of Extinction?
Hello, this is Cybertron Police Department. How can I help you?
I'd like to report a stolen shotgun.
Okay, could you describe what it looks like?
It's dark grey, almost Games Workshop grey, but with a shinier tint. It's got a 5mm peg on the bottom, and a 5mm peg on each side, and a special handle for me to hold.
Does it have a round dial towards the back?
Yes it does.
I'm sorry, Hasbro recently filed for repossession of the gun.
For what?
It was technically property of Industrial Light and Magic, and Hasbro needed to pay some of your debts. They sold it off to Optimus Prime to make back the money. You ordered 17,000 bottles of Norway cleaning fluid.
Starscream!
Oh, and although many people have said firing the blaster is a lot harder, I had no problems with it. I say had because the missile got lost in my Lego pile. I'll find it though, it hasn't disappeared. I haven't lost it, I haven't lost it. I've already shown a size comparison with Megatron, so here's one with the other Prime and Skybite. I've got Skybite here because after carrying him around in America for 1 hour, one of his fins broke. This KO is less likely to break than any Hasbro official toy due to the diecast. Furthermore, you are not going to find a cheap Evasion Prime nowadays due to the popularity of this mold, and you are certainly not going to find one in stores if you're in Australia. Well, Sydney anyway. This is a fantastic alternative, and it's perfectly sized to boot. Also, you'll likely pay $50 or more for a Voyager in Australia. After shipping costs and currency conversion were both factored in, I didn't even pay $35 for this. You know what else is cool? There's a Takara Nemesis Prime version. Now you have no excuse. If you don't want Optimus Prime, just get Nemesis. A few tiny issues from the mold copying and a few design issues on Hasbro's side are not enough to deny this figure's awesomeness. This toy, official or knockoff, is a must-have even if you don't like the movies. Also, for some reason, this toy came with a bonus Micromaster. These are usually inoffensive 50-cent things you can add to your existing orders, because buying them by themselves makes no sense due to shipping costs. Thing is, I never ordered one, and just popped in there. Oh well, okay, freebies are cool, even though this one's a piece of crap. This guy is based on the Autobot Construction Patrol, Crumble, who accidentally destroys everything, but in this adorable colour scheme I could never see anything like that happening. On the topic, this colour scheme is cack. Gone is the gorgeous green and grey, and now we get this guy that has clearly gone beyond tasting the rainbow. In fact, let's say the rainbow tasted him. Well, at least he rolls. Barely, and his crane still rotates and moves up and down. Barely. Transforming him is a cinch. And after it's done, things get even worse. I don't know why, but the badly painted windshield at the front looks even more offensive in this mode. The colour clash is also atrocious, making even the G2 guys vomit all over the place in horror. Also, you may not notice the moulding scars, but that's only because I've carefully cut out most of them. Also, this yellow is terrible! It's halfway between mustard and neon. Ugh. Also, while one arm's fine, the other one's a floppy mess until you get it past 60 degrees. That being said, he is kinda cute. Even though he's a little bit lighter than the real thing probably would be, he still doesn't feel like he's gonna break when I give him the slightest squeeze, unlike some other knockoffs I've gotten in the past. Since he's an unexpected entry into the collection, I suppose he can stay. Whatever happens, I hope you enjoyed this review. Next time, I review Generation Springer, the first good attempt at a triple changer in the Classics/Generations line. Can you believe the hype? Let's find out.